much. At 7 o'clock, Councillor Baker sends his regrets. He is unable to be here this evening. No public input. Mr. Bowman, thank you very much. Point 4, adoption of the minutes. Recommendation of 4.1 that the minutes of the special council meeting held on Tuesday, January 24th, 2017 be adopted. Moved and seconded. Any errors, omissions? Any discussion? All those in favor signify. Opposed, carried, and so ordered. 4.2, recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on Tuesday, January 24th, 2017 be adopted. Moved and seconded. Any errors or omissions? You got them, Sean? Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify. Opposed, carried, and so ordered. Thank you. General matters, delegations, and recognitions. RCMP quarterly report. 5.1, Merit RCMP fourth quarter report, October-December 2016. Staff Sergeant Sheila White, file 7500. Staff Sergeant White.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council.
You want to push your button, Sheila, please?
Really?
Oh, I mean the button on the. There you go. Thank you.
So this is the quarterly report, policing activity report that encompasses October to December 2016. Some of the highlights I'll read for you. We responded to 1,510 calls for service in the 3-month period. We processed 165 prisoners. We still seem to have an issue with abandoned 911 calls. In this quarter, we received 85 911 emergency calls, and of that, 79 of them were determined to be false. During this period, our impaired driving offenses for our general duty complement processed 9 drivers that either had their driving privileges suspended for either 24 hours, 3 days, 7 days, 30 days, or 90 days. 7 of those investigations were conducted within the city limits of Merritt, while 2 of the investigations were conducted outside in the provincial area. Of the 9 investigations, 4 local people were charged, while the other 5 were not from Merritt. For example, they're from Logan Lake, Chilliwack, Surrey, Lower Nicolet, Coquitlam area. Our Central Interior Traffic Services, who works out of our building, but they don't actually report to me, they're a provincial unit. They processed 4 drivers for impaired driving. 2 of those investigations occurred within the city limits, and 2 others occurred outside. I still maintain that we do have an issue with impaired driving, but although it's not in my report, I have to give a huge shout out for the Merritt curling rink. I had the opportunity at the end of January to watch several games over the weekend period. And as I was sitting in the audience watching the games, of course, no one knew me there. And I was impressed with the fact that not just the organizers at the Merritt Curling Club, but the participants and the players, the local players, were all talking about how to combat impaired driving, making sure that the out-of-town teams got back to their hotel rooms. I know some of the organizers gave rides home to the fellows. It was a men's bonspiel. And there was taxi fees paid for as well. So they were, the common theme from Friday night into Sunday afternoon was they did not want anyone that needed a ride or wanted a ride to drive away themselves from the Merritt curling rink. So that was very impressive. I just had to do a shout out for them because it was awesome. So back to the report. We did have a little bit of training over the period. Generally, it's a slower time for us. So there was several courses: stepwise child interview course, crisis intervention de-escalation courses, Road to Mental Readiness, which is a course that all employees that are employed within the RCMP environment, so that includes not just regular police officers, but office staff, the public servants, municipal employees, victim service workers, guards, and matrons all receive that training. Our GIS section was a little bit busy, so some of their highlights. Assisted with a fire investigation on the Coldwater Avenue. And again, this is from October to December. An interprovincial drug trafficker was trying to establish himself in Merritt. Used some proactive methods which resulted in the trafficker leaving the community, and a county-wide arrest warrant has been issued for him. It is unlikely that he will return to Merritt. Became aware of a rash of break-ins to storage lockers and alerted the owners to check their lockers to determine what items have been stolen. Several of the stolen items were located and were returned to the owners. Several attempted thefts were thwarted at industrial and commercial sites in Merritt because of proactive patrols and surveillance. Stolen vehicle fled on police and was located shortly afterwards. This vehicle was determined to be used in committing break-ins within our city. Seized approximately $1,400 of cocaine from a person previously known to be involved in drug trafficking. Sorry? Known. Sorry, unknown. We spent a significant amount of time investigating a known sex offender that lives in our community. And because of this occurred over several weeks, the offender was eventually arrested and incarcerated and is still incarcerated today. Happy to have him out of our community. Prolific property crime offender from the Lower Mainland moved to Merritt after being released from jail. Again, we used some proactive methods. We were able to arrest this person before they went on a crime spree. This person is currently incarcerated, and we have asked for conditions that this person not be allowed back in Merritt. He does not have any connections here, so there's no reason for him to be here. We executed a drug trafficking warrant at a local hotel after someone overdosed, believed to be fentanyl related. Two persons from Kelowna actually were involved in the drug trade had moved to Merritt. They were immediately identified, and their vehicle was impounded, and they have moved elsewhere. We investigated a robbery where a person was beer sprayed. The suspect was identified and arrested within minutes. Evidence was recovered, and the offender was placed on conditions not to be within the city of Merritt. This person is from the Lower Mainland. Both the offender and the victim in this case are known to be involved in the drug trade. We also assisted the Ontario Provincial Police with an investigation involving a sex offender from Merritt, and assisted First Nations policing section with their particular interviewing skills in obtaining critical evidence against another sex offender. Domestic violence, we currently have 4 ICAT or high-risk domestic violence cases open, and victim services accepted over 46 new clients in that period. Our human resource levels, some things have changed. So Constable Fred Miller has started as of November. Constable Miller came to us from Maple Ridge, and I think he's got about 7 years service, so he comes with experience. Constable Dan LaChapelle has accepted a transfer to Ottawa. He's currently trying to sell his house. And Constable Chester Williams will occupy the vacant First Nations police position, and he is coming out of Prince George. Chester has a lot of policing experience, and he is trying to sell his house there. We have one member that's off duty for an extended period of time. And of course, we have Rebecca McGifford, who was hired as a new municipal employee, and she's working wonders in our office. She's fitting in good. Good worker. And then there's a couple of charts at the end in case you needed to, or wanted to ask some questions about.
That's it?
Well, I could go on, but
No, that's good. No. Councillor Prowl?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple, when I put all this sort of together in my head, I was thinking that it's looking like more are coming to Merritt as sort of the hub. That was my impression, that they're coming to Merritt to be doing their trafficking, because then they can go whichever direction they want, basically. So I think you're doing an excellent job catching these in the bud. And all these thefts, would they sort of in the end be drug related?
yes.
They are, okay. And I thought the sex offenders was fairly new. Thank you.
Unfortunately, it's not new. It seems like there's more because I mentioned a whole bunch of different cases. Some of those cases are older cases that came back to light. One case was a sex offender that had moved here that we managed to arrest and get out of our community. Sometimes it goes in waves for us.
Has Constable Shell left yet?
No,
He's still waiting to sell his house?
yes, he is.
Have you got a replacement for him when he does leave, or how's that going to work?
Yes, so Constable Fred Miller, who's already here,
Yeah.
is Dan's replacement.
Good. The 911, when you were here last, it was over a month ago since you did this report. Has that changed at all, Sheila? Have you been able to check it?
No, the numbers are still very high. If there is a positive to it, is because all 911 calls are investigated, we have to determine if they're real or not. But more people are answering the phone on a callback. So what happens when a 911 call is received at our telecoms, if it's a hang up or if it's whatever, our telecoms people will phone back the number that phoned in. And we're finding that more and more people are picking up the line now instead of just ignoring it. Some of these calls are bouncing off, sorry, it's really dry throat here today, bouncing off some of the cell towers that are potentially driving through on the Coquihalla, different phases. So the positive is more people are answering their phones, and people are understanding that when we arrive at your house, because there's been a 911 call, whether it's a pocket dial or a young child playing with the phone, that they appreciate the visit. And of course, we have to determine that the call for service was false or there was nothing to it.
Because one of the things we discovered was and I think it was Councillor Getz that mentioned it, when they dial from the fire group up at the airport, they dial 911 accidentally, and we were hoping that now that they're aware of that they're more careful about, and hoping those numbers have dropped. But
I didn't review all the files, but the majority of them, and I didn't see any from up by the forestry guys.
Any further comments or questions? Once again, Staff Sergeant White, thank you. Your detachment is doing an absolutely wonderful job. We appreciate it. Please extend our thanks to all the members and all the staff up there for what you do and the stuff that you put up with. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
You're welcome. And I will.
Moving on to 5.2, mosquito control. Mosquito control, Sheriff Fippen. Bachelor of Science, RN, President, PWP Consulting, Inc., file 52801. There's a document in there. Cheryl,
Hi.
you have the floor, dear.
So the letter
Thank you,
that
Sheila.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor Menard. So the letter that I sent in, is that included in everyone's package? Okay, so people have had a chance to read it, possibly? So I'm Cheryl Phippen. I've owned BWP Consulting moving into my 19th year of mosquito control. I hold mosquito control contracts throughout the interior BC. Last night, this will be my 19th year in the Thompson-Nicola Regional District. Currently, we have contracts right up into Prince George and the Columbia Shuswap area. And we even actually had a year where, under West Nile virus funding, we did some work in the city of Merritt. The reason I'm here is because I have some questions about how the mosquito control contracting has been handled in Merritt. Like I gave a little bit of a history in the letter here. When I sort of started with the TNRD very young and fresh, I had contacted a number of times over the years the city of Merritt, who is Public Works and the different departments, and was told a number of times that there was a contractor in place here. Although I offered to provide a quote, they had a contractor, thank you. And then in 2007, I think I contacted Sean Bobin actually and said, hi, I'm from Kamloops, we're nice and close. Would you be interested in a quote from our company? And it appeared to me from past records and agendas that year, DG Regan Associates, the contractor that's been working here for a number of years, provided a quote to the city to continue mosquito control for the next 5 years. That quote was put to the board at the time. It was approximately $45,000 a year for 5 years. So I have a table in there that shows basically they increased the price at 3% for 5 years, and the board was asked whether or not they wanted to take that quote, or would they like to put the contract out to competition, or would they like to take it for a shorter amount of time? There's a number of choices, and the board at that time decided to award DG Regan the contract for 5 years without putting it out to tender or to competition. So moving ahead then, the 5 years to 2012, I was actually quite surprised and pleased in 2012 to see on BC Bid that it was the first time City of Merritt had put the mosquito control work out to public. That year it was put out as a tender, which, if you're familiar with the process, is basically if you can show that you can reasonably do the job, the lowest price wins. That year, being the first year of competition, it was put out as a tender, and there was a public bid opening, so we knew what the bids were immediately. And we were obviously shocked when the previous contractor came in less than half of what he had been quoting previously. And then I asked a bunch of questions about that. I didn't actually receive any replies because the amount that actually, the $23,800, would have been very difficult to cover the cost of larvicide and helicopter, let alone continue a program as the city was used to. But no response was given to me at that time as to whether they felt that was reasonable. So given that I knew that was a very low quote and very difficult to keep, I mean, I know how much it costs to kill mosquitoes, I've been kind of keeping track and phoning in annually, asking how much the company was paid and receiving the reports, annual reports. And so I put together this table here, and just to share with you, when we put the tender out, you're asked to give a base price for treatment of 325 hectares by air and 10 hectares by ground. And that's what, so if you look at 2012, 2013, 14, 15, that's what the bid price is. 23.8 was for 325 hectares of aerial and 10 of ground. You're also asked to provide a price if, say, it's a bad year and you are required to go over, you can get special permission to carry on and continue treating. There's no point in letting the larvae emerge. So we were asked to provide a price. Should that happen, how much per hectare would we charge? And the winning bid that year was $44 per hectare over 325 for flight and $36 per hectare for ground. So going to the reports, I was able to calculate the amount that the contract should have been, how much that the contractor should have been paid. And so that's kind of the column 3 from the right, amount to be paid according to the tender price, bid plus additional aerial and additional ground. Okay, so you can see in 2012, with the additional treatments that the contractor did, should have been paid around $40,000. Now, of course, I don't know if there were additional things that the city hired this contractor for, and that's kind of what I'm curious to find out. So in 2012, it looks like there was an overpayment of about $27,000, $8,900 in 2014. 2015, I was specifically quite interested because there was no helicopter treatments done that year, none whatsoever. There was only 6 hectares of hand treatments done, and yet still the contract was paid $32,000 when really that year I don't see how they should have gone over the base of $24,500. Again, maybe there's other things that had come up, I don't know. So then moving forward, I was actually very pleased again to see that it came out, and this time as a request for proposal, which is much different than a request for tender. So tender, again, if the person can reasonably be expected to complete the contract, the lowest price wins. When it becomes a request for proposal, like was handed out in December, it becomes a scoring system. So you're getting more of what is your value for your money. And so I don't know if you have copies of the tender or the request for proposal that was put out in December, but as part of that proposal, there was a 100-point scoring system. So items like your past experience, your innovation, how your approach would be to this program, were all included and according to the document sent out, should have been part of the evaluation. In fact, price was a small part of the evaluation. It was, are we getting a good price for what this proposal says we're going to have? So, of course, these proposals take a lot of work to prepare. And I submitted mine, and I was sent a letter saying that we were the unsuccessful proponents, and not who was successful, nor what our score was, nor what the winning bid price was, which isn't normal in my experience. Again, I've been in this business for 19 years. I have contracts throughout the province. Typically, when we're sent a letter saying we did not win or win, we are given the scores of everybody that bid, as well as what their cost was. So you can see kind of where you came in and where you didn't score. I've asked for those documents. I've been told that they're used internally, and I have not been provided with them as yet. So I don't know. The other thing that concerns me about it is I was, as part of this request for proposal, one of the things is obviously your past performance, clearly is a good indicator, and we were asked for 3 references. I provided 5 references. Not one of my references was contacted. So I'm wondering how I was given a score for past performance. Okay, I've never worked here for you guys. Another thing in there was innovation. Our company is unique in the province in that we are the only one that has an online database and mapping system, which includes some of the merit mapping that I did in that one brief summer that we worked for you guys, worked for the TNRD and did some work here under the West Nile. I provided in my proposal a temporary login for someone to go in and assess this database, which you would think would be an important part of assessing the proposal. No one has logged into that database. So I would like to know how the RFP was evaluated, how the point scale was evaluated. I'd like to know what the winning bid price actually was. I would like, and the other thing I'd like to know is how come it doesn't need to go to the board for ratification? I've been told because the contract is less than $50,000, it doesn't need to go to the board. However, this contract, unless the bidder bid $17,000, the minimum term of this contract is 3 years with a potential extension to 5 years. So unless it was $17,000, this is at least a $50,000 contract. So I would assume that this should be coming to the board to be reviewed rather than what I've been told is that it already had been awarded. So I think that's all of it. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, no, you also have 4 requests at the end of your letter.
Yes.
We will respond to those requests. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Nothing? Councillor Christopherson.
Thank you for all this information, and I would like to find out the answers to it.
This is important to me. This is my livelihood. And, you know, we put a lot of work and time into preparing our proposals. And I feel that if you look at over time that maybe, you know, I'd like some feedback on what could be happening. We're obviously a local company, being less than an hour away from here. We can hire locally, And I do feel like we should be taking seriously with our bids or our tenders.
Yeah, you've given us some good information, so thank you.
Okay, Cheryl, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll get back to you on your requests, and thank you for taking the time to come and share with us this evening.
Thank you, thank you.
Take care. Moving on to 6, unfinished business, Environment Select Committee member, file 0578, recommendation that Ying Han Alston Lee be appointed to the Environment Select Committee. Moved, seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify. Opposed, carried, and so ordered. Thank you. Nicola Valley Search and Rescue, 6.2, Nicola Valley Search and Rescue Agreement, Chief Administrative Officer, February 7th, 2017, report, file 2320.144, recommendation that council direct staff to work with Nicola Valley Search and Rescue on drafting an agreement that would formalize the use of the airport terminal building basement and lands that the fenced compound are constructed on, and that's recommendation number 1. Mr. Boven, did you want to make any comment on that?
Thank you, Worship. I'll just make council aware, this report came as a result of almost chance. Some public works staff were called up to the terminal building because an electrician was up there getting ready to tie into the electrical panel to supply power to the outside compound. And then staff thankfully asked, and we looked for the authority to see was this council's intent. So we've included a couple of the previous requests, some of the motions, and it wasn't clear. And we also learned there is no agreement, so we're recommending that if they're going to operate out of there and we're going to continue to endorse that, we should have a formal agreement that protects them, protects us. And also seek direction just on the second item with respect to the supply of hydro, if that would be the intent to carry on. And that's what has been happening the past several years or 10 years. They've been plugged into the side, so this would, instead of being plugged into the side of the building, be an electrical service coming out of the panel over to the compound.
Thank you, Mr. Boven. We also have Nathan Rigdon, who is the president of the Nicola Valley Search and Rescue, with us this evening. So if any of you have any comments or questions, I've asked Nathan to be here this evening. So any further discussion on the recommendation? Councillor Brown.
I'm glad we're looking at a formal agreement, because I think we need to do that with all of these bits and pieces that we have out there. And I think it's a great organization that does great work, and we need to support it. What I'd like to see city do is look at having, I think I've said this before, having some kind of a cost available for our sites, whether they be commercial, whether they be land, airport lands, whatever, and we need to be able to develop what that cost is. And if council then would look at permitting that without it, that's a different story. But I think we need to have the cost for that on an overall scale to begin with. And I, for one, believe that organizations need to pay their own way. So this isn't up to the city to pick up a lot of these costs. But I would expect that hydro would be paid by the organization.
Any further discussion? Councillor Christopherson.
Yes, I'm just absolutely delighted to see something like this coming forward. I think we should have had an agreement long ago. It's about time that we start treating our airport like a city-owned facility and have proper agreements in place for all the usage up there. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments, discussion? All those in favor signify. Opposed, carried, so ordered. Thank you. The second recommendation that council provide direction with respect to the supply of hydro by the city to the fenced compound. Moved and seconded. Discussion. Councillor Getz.
So just for clarity here, Sean, what exactly are we talking about in this motion?
Thank Thank you, through you, your worship, Councillor Getz. I'm glad you asked, because this motion in itself, just move, seconded, carried, and adopted, doesn't provide the direction. But for inclusion into the agreement, we're just looking for direction. Or is the city paying for the power or not?
Go ahead, Councillor Getz.
So just, I need to ask a couple questions here. There was an urban myth up there when the Flying Club that was up there, that they were actually paying the electrical bill for the search and rescue out of that building. Is that correct or is that incorrect? I was told that several times.
I believe the electrical service may have been in the Flying Club's name, but the city had upped some amount at some time to compensate for the extra usage of electricity downstairs, that I recall.
Okay. So now the Flying Club has not been involved up there now for close to a little over a year or maybe more than a year. So how have we been taking care of that to this point? Just paying it?
The hydro is just in our name and we pay the bill monthly.
And what is that?
I'd have to,
Ballpark it.
I don't even know the
Okay.
ballpark.
If we could just get some, so we have an idea.
Sure.
I'd just like to know what we're looking at.
We're also working on putting a contract together, and we've been plugged in for a long time. And the cable is sitting right there, just need to poke a little hole in the concrete and run it inside, and we've been taking care of that for a long time. You know, the search and rescue group is a very important group to the community. They do great work. They're out there doing stuff, so I hope that we would support them in every way that we can, and that we come up with something that is that's workable and assist them to continue to do what they're doing and be able to put the bus and the trailer in that compound, and that we have lights and everything else there in case we need it. So, any further comments or questions on this? All those in favor signify. Opposed, carried, and so ordered. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bergen, for attending tonight. Much appreciated. Councillor Boven. Just a minute, Nathan. No, go ahead. Were you going to?
Thank you, Worship. I was just getting clarification then. Was the motion that the staff be directed to include the cost of hydro at our cost in the agreement? City cost? Because what was moved and seconded was that council provide direction with respect to the supply of hydro by the city to the fence compound. So that is great, but what is that direction in the form of a motion?
To me, what I just said, we should keep paying it.
Okay.
Councillor Prowl?
Before I make a decision, I'd like to know what the costs are. What are we paying for hydro? Thank you, Mike.
Councillor Getz?
I don't think it really matters what the cost of the power is. I mean, you've got these services that are needed by the community. I think it's just part and parcel of us doing business. I don't think we want to get on the cheap when somebody needs to be, freezing to death out in the middle of nowhere, and we ask these guys to come out and do it. So I think it's just part and parcel of you having this system in your community. So we've been paying it now for over a year, so I don't think it really matters. It's just part of doing business, and it's a business that's needed. So I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be continuing to. I mean, if they started running like TVs and leaving them on all night and all the rest of that kind of stuff, but I mean, it's just basically search and rescue. So I think it's just part of doing business. So I'm willing to support it as we continue to pay the bill.
It's just the lights, and we have the truck itself plugged in, and we have a huge batteries in the back that we have to keep charged, that when we go out, it runs all of our equipment. So I don't think the cost is very much in order for us to do that. Councillor Prowl?
Thank you to Councillor Getz and Mayor Menard. I can withdraw my comments.
Any further discussion? Okay, we've passed the motion already, so thank you very much. Nathan, go home with a smile on your face. Thanks for all your work, too. Much appreciated. Councillor Getz.
I know we voted on this, but is there a time limit on this agreement? Will this come up every 4 or 5 years, or is this just in perpetuity? I'm just curious.
Thank you, through you, your worship. We would look to model it similar to other agreements that we have. I'm not sure what their cycle is, but it would be a 4 or 5 year with an option to renewal.
Okay, Downtown Voice Liaison, excerpt minutes, regular council meeting, January 24th, 2017, meeting file 0575. Recommendation that council appoint a liaison to the Downtown Voice. Moved, seconded. Any discussion, any comments? All those in favor signify. Opposed, carried, and so ordered. And I would so appoint Councillor Christopherson as the liaison for the Downtown Committee. Ratification of the appointment would be in order. Thank you. Seconder? Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify. Opposed, carried, and so ordered. Councillor Christopherson? Thank you. You didn't vote against it?
I was going to be a silly one and go against it.
Thank you very much. Committee of the Whole, excerpt draft minutes, Special Committee of the Whole, January 26, 2017, meeting file 1851. Recommendation that the Committee of the Whole to Council that the 2017 grant applications be approved as deliberated. Councilor Brown? Moving it, seconded, okay. Discussion? Councilor Getz?
Do we still not have 4 outstanding?
Yes, they're coming to the meeting on the 25th.
So we're just going to approve the ones that we approved and.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Any further discussion? They're going to be on at 10 o'clock in the morning of the 25th. Yep. All those in favor signify. Opposed, carried, and so ordered. Thank you. Committee of the Whole, 6.5, excerpt draft minutes, Special Committee of the Whole, February 7th, 2017 meeting, file 1700, recommendation from the Committee of the Whole to Council that staff prepare a report outlining options for an Arena Reserve Fund bylaw to be brought forward to Council. Moved and seconded. Discussion. Councilor Getz.
Thank you. So upon further discussion of this issue, I agree. I think we need to have the fund started, so when we start to look for more funding, that we show that we're serious, because, I mean, we're going to try and get some government, local, maybe a 3P partnership, whatever. But I think reality has to dictate this. I mean, if we put X amount of dollars away, and we're going to have to decide how much we want to put away, you know, we're going to be looking at, if we were looking at the Wolfway, that would have taken us 10 years to get the 1.2 or 1.3. If we're looking at this arena, you know, we're talking 100 years. I think probably what we should be doing, and this is just a conversation, is really focusing on paying down what debts we have, and within 3 or 4 years, borrow the entire amount and get the building built, because this is a good idea, but it's never realistically going to happen. But at least it gives us a fund to draw from. And in that time, I would like to see, in the next 2 or 3 years, I'd also like to see probably the city map out where this would be, where it would go, the footprint. So we have all of that when we start looking for some support. Because the situation is you're never going to be able to put this money away. And we kind of realized that with the Wolfway, because every year we put X amount of dollars away, there was always another 5 or 10% cost the next year, because everything had changed. Your cement was more, your pavement was more, your rebar was more. So it felt like you were never catching up. So I think this is a good idea, but I think realistically we're going to have to jump in at some point in the next year or 2 or 3 and actually borrow the entire amount and build the building, I think, is how it's going to have to go.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Brown.
I think reserve funds are a great idea, and I think we should be doing that for a lot of our big capital items, and it should be part and parcel of our asset management plan. So hopefully we can put that into the asset management plan and actually start looking at putting funds away for a lot of those big things.
Thank you. Councilor Getz. Anybody else for the first time? Councilor Getz.
So would we be moving this conversation to budget? Because we have to come up with a number, correct?
No.
No, but I mean, are we just discussing this?
No, this be brought, yeah, but we bring something forward to council? That's what we're asking for to do here tonight?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any further discussion? those in favor signify. Opposed, carried, and so ordered. And Mr. Boven will work on that and we'll bring it to council. Thank you. Fire Rescue Department Establishment Amendment Bylaw, 7.1, City of Merritt Fire Rescue Department Establishment Amendment Bylaw number 2219, 2017, file 3900.1904. Recommendation that City of Merritt Fire Rescue Department Establishment Amendment Bylaw number 2219, 2017 be adopted. Moved, seconded, any discussion? All those in favor signify. Opposed, carried, and so ordered. Thank you. New business, 8.1, 2017-201, Mosquito Control Program, RFP Acceptance, Director of Engineering and Development, February 8th, 2017 report, file 2320.46, recommendation that council resolves to accept the request for proposal for the 2017-2021 Mosquito Control Program from Duca Environment Services Limited in the amount of $25,073 plus applicable taxes per year for the next 5 years, and that council resolves that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute the agreement form. Move, seconded. Councilor Getz.
Well, in light of the presentation given tonight, I think we have to put this on hold until we get those 4 questions answered. I don't feel that we should have someone come and speak to us and then all of a sudden approve this as it stands. We have a while to go before we have to really get on this, but I think until the 4 questions that Ms. Phippen asked us are dealt with, I think it would be erroneous of us to go ahead and approve this. So I'm motioning to table.
Motion to defer, seconded. No discussion on deferral. All those in favor signify. Opposed? You want to do that again?
Yeah. Well, we kind of.
The motion, there was motion moved and seconded to defer it to the next council meeting, correct?
But there was a motion on the floor before.
No, but
The
you,
motion can be.
motion to defer.
I agree with the deferral because there's lots of questions, but.
Okay, that's what we're voting on, is the motion to defer to the next council meeting. All those in favor signify. Opposed, carried, and so ordered. It'll come back to the next council meeting and we'll answer those 4 questions. Notice of motion. No, you can't. You can next time though, Jeannie. That's what notice to defer does, unfortunately sometimes, but that is the correct motion because of the questions that have come forward, and we all know that, I know that Sasha, Ms. Bird did a good job at dealing with this, but when somebody comes forward, it doesn't hurt us to make sure that we dot all the i's and cross all the t's, and we'll do that. Any notices of motion? I'd like to put one forward if I may. I'd like to have a motion for our next meeting that we support the craft hockey request that we have in here for, I believe it's for 4 tickets, and there's 3 other items that they're asking for. And I would like to see us do probably a sponsor, they have asked for some money, did they not, Sean? $300 and some or something to, and yes, and anyway, that's my motion. I'll have it worded so that we deal with those 2 topics. And there was one more that I wanted to bring forward. Rocky Mountain Rangers. Rocky Mountain Rangers, they're a cadet group here in town. They're celebrating, I think it's 95 years of being in the community. Captain Renier, she's been a very strong mover and shaker of that particular group, and I would ask that we do some support for that as well. Yes, of course.
Thank you, Your Worship. This really caught my eye, and I think we should be supporting it. I've been to Vimy Ridge, and I don't think there's a more awesome site anywhere in the world for these young men and women to go to. I just have one question, like how many Rocky Mountain Rangers, do we have any idea how many there are? 15?
I don't know, I was there last year. They got a pretty good group, but I don't know the numbers.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that one really caught my eye. Thank you.
Any further comments? Okay, thank you. Reports? Yep. We'll get to those. Reports from council. We will start with Councillor Prowl. No? Yeah, speak slow, so Sean can write it all down. Councillor Prowl, did you find it?
No, but I really haven't. Yeah, he's got it. Please. I have a copy myself somewhere. Thank you. The biggest thing on my report is the Adopt a Road. Okay, so I've sent out an email to everybody and about new dates and times. So I received 2 responses from members of council. One was okay with the dates and times. Another concerned it might be too dark. And so we could start a little earlier if that turns out to be the case. So I have Thursday, March the 30th, 6 to 8 p.m. Thursday, June the 29th, 6 to 8 p.m. And Thursday, October the 5th, 6 to 8 p.m. I put them all the same day and all the same times just to make life a little easier, I think. And you'll also notice that I've deleted one whole, we had 4 before and now we have 3. So I attended the Legion dinner dance on the 11th. It was lots of fun. One section of the sidewalk was not cleared, so I had to walk on the road to get to my car because it was a safer option. I received a list of concerns regarding the city's response to the highway closure. I've passed them on to the CAO and asked for a report at the next council meeting. Do I need council's approval for that?
Yeah, I think so, yep.
Okay, I'll move that the questions or concerns that I sent to the CAO come back with a response, a report at the next council meeting.
Seconder? Sure. Moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor signify. Opposed? Carried and so ordered.
Otherwise, I've done nothing but shovel snow, chip away at the ice buildup. The ice storm definitely made life more difficult. I've heard numerous complaints, but I believe that Public Works has done an excellent job. But I would like to attend, that's under information. And that's it.
Thank you. Councillor Brown?
Well, I did a lot over the last 3 weeks, but it had absolutely nothing to do with snow or the Coquihalla closures, because I was on vacation, and I missed it all. Before I left, I went to a Community Futures Board meeting, and we did the Granton Aids on the 26th, and I missed the budget discussion meeting on February 7th because I was on vacation. So I hope to get back into things shortly. And I'd just like to wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you. Councillor Christopherson?
We have a number of projects on the go. One of the things I'm doing right now is gathering background information on the role of council and the community in being proactive in addressing local health care concerns and issues. And I'll share this information with council in a workshop setting, if that's appropriate. The Canada 150 celebrations, I'm really amazed at the number of events already planned. The next meeting is tomorrow, and that's basically an opportunity to share info on the many events that seem to be coming out of the woodwork. The committee thinks that they may even get 150 events planned, so the committee is not doing the planning, the people are doing their own. Went to a TOTA workshop on Friday. regarding Aboriginal tourism opportunities in the Nicola Valley. It was very well presented, and again, the Nicola Valley and Merritt. There's a lot of opportunities out there, and Aboriginal tourism is one of the fastest growing segments of the tourism industry at present. I also attended a dinner at Chalouse Hall on February the 1st, hosted by Arnie Narcisse, and the topic was Reflections of an Indian School Survivor. It was very interesting, and Mr. Narcisse plans on having a more public session up at NVIT in March, I think it is. In May, okay. And then February the 7th, I did my usual music thing at Gillis House, and then I got invited over to Nicola Meadows to do the same thing, so I don't know whether they're courting me to move in, but it's fun going anyways.
Thank you. Councillor Getz.
Oh,
Go ahead, Kurt.
go ahead. Well,
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I wanted to mention that I was really pleased to get some information about one of our local citizens that passed away a while ago, Bob Cocaine. I've known him for many, many years. And in his will, he bequested $10,000 to the Nicola Valley Community Arts Council, specifically for music events. And it's good to see the Arts Council is on the upswing again, but I also wanted to make mention of Bob Cocaine. He was a very fine citizen of Merritt.
Thank you. Councillor Getz.
thank you, Worship. So Gas Buddy, today Merritt was $1.13.9. Last time we met it was $1.15.9, so it's gone down 2 cents. Kelowna $1.11.9, Vernon $1.14.9, Kamloops $1.06.9, Vancouver $1.15.9 unchanged, Prince George 99.8. Everybody has gone down between a point cent and 2 to 3 cents. So there still is quite a bit of world oil on the market. World oil today, 58.02. Last time we met it was 53.3. It's gone up 5 cents. So, you know, everybody seems to be holding, and I'm glad that the long weekend curse has stopped in Merritt. We don't see our prices go up every long weekend, then back down on the Mondays. Family Day, Civic Center yesterday. Took my grandchildren and my family, and we had a great time. It was well done. It was a very short amount of time, but it still was well attended, and it was really well done. The kids had a great time, so thank you to Brad and his crew and the girls that worked on their day off. We appreciate it, and it was really well received. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Councillor Norgard.
Okay, so I too attended Mr. Narcisse's dinner, a lovely dinner put on by his family, and looking forward to being involved more in those discussions. He would very much like to have first responders and other people in town learn and understand the residential school experience and how that filters down multi-generationally. I too went to the Aboriginal Tourism Roundtable. Again, lots of amazing ideas that came out of that. And on Family Day, I went to the Readers Theatre and heard the story of how coyote brought salmon to this valley. It was very, very well done, and an example of something that we could have as Aboriginal tourism. And they're hoping to do 6 more over the year. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you. On the 25th of January, I had the honor and the pleasure of having 22 students from Diamondvale, the grade 5 students, come and do a visit to City Hall. We gave them a tour of the office, introduced them to most of the staff that were in at the time, and then the different departments and who they were and what they did. And then we came down here and they all took turns sitting in the different chairs, and they asked a whole bunch of really good questions. I think they enjoyed it. I know I certainly did. They did ask a couple of really tough questions that were a little bit difficult for me to answer simply because of the emotional aspect to it, but they were really thinking about things that council people have to deal with that a lot of people don't really think about. And I was quite impressed with that class. They were well-behaved, the chaperones and the teacher were very good. I enjoy that with the kids when they come and they show an interest in what happens here. I attended the budget meeting on the 26th. Also, I attended guard training at the RCMP. Dave came. I asked Dave if he would come to there and do a presentation on fire and rescue, and he did, the chief, and he did a very good job. Also gave us a bit of a know-how and learn how to handle fire extinguishers properly, the different types that they use and the different types that we have to use there as well. So that was very well received, and thanks to Chief for coming and doing that presentation to all of the guards that we have working for the RCMP. On the Saturday, I attended the novice hockey tournament here in town, and that was great entertainment. Those little guys, they have the ice divided in half, and they have players on one end and players on the other, and it is just about as good as watching the Centennials. It was super. On the 31st, we had a meeting with MLA Taggart, myself, and Councillor Christofferson, and he's mentioned some of the things, but we talked to her about the necessity of continuing the work on doctors, the hospital, forestry, transportation, the concerns that we have with the highway up top as far as getting a proper, safe pathway for all of the people that work on the other side of the highway. And we also talked to her about the lighting and a little bit of the work that should be done to make that entrance from 286 into town safer and well lit up. So that was a good meeting, and it was nice to have that time with her, and hopefully she will carry that back to the powers to be. On the Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, the 1st to the 3rd, I attended the LGLA Leadership Forum in Richmond. It was very good, very interesting, very long days, but very, very worthwhile, and I learned a lot. And again, the networking is so good to be able to talk to folks that are dealing with a lot of the stuff that we are, and we do a good job. We do a good job compared to some of the things that I heard and talked to with different councillors, and when I mentioned some of the stuff that we do, they were quite impressed. So that's a thank you to you as a council, and to the city and to our staff for the work that we do. I also, on Saturday, February the 4th, I attended the initiation hockey tournament, which is even one says younger than the other one. That was good. I spent the day there with the kids and talking to the parents and whatnot, and it was well done. The volunteers, they were just good, unbelievable. There were folks that were there helping out. I spent some time at the Stock Breeders Association, the Cattlemen's Bonspiel, and that was interesting. Talked to some good folks there. On the 27th, the budget meetings. On the 10th, we had a meeting with Kinder Morgan, myself and Mr. Boven. They just gave us an update on what's happening, and also talked to us about the 2 items that we have that they're going to assist us with financing, and we have to decide what we're going to do. So we'll be talking about that, but that was a good meeting on that particular day. On the 8th, drop-in session, there wasn't that many come in, but they were long, really good, interesting sessions, and I enjoyed them, and I learned a few things on it as well, and it was a good day. On the 11th and 12th, I attended the moccasin tournament here in town. I spent some time there on Saturday, and I went in the morning for a bit, and then I went for the final game on Sunday afternoon, and it was between Merritt and Chase. And it was one heck of a hockey game. It was unbelievable. Those boys, I sometimes think they hate each other. They just give her. They were really, it was a great game. Ended up 3-3, and they had to go into overtime. And darn it, anyway, Chase scored the goal in overtime, and they beat Merritt 4-3. So it was a good day as well. So that's some of the stuff that I've been involved in the last little while. Reports from council completed. We now have information items. And Councilor Prowl, you had one you wanted to talk to.
11.8. I wouldn't mind being, I don't know if I want to be actual liaison, but do I need permission to actually attend the meetings? That's the Nicola Watershed Community Roundtable. And it is partly out of the Merritt area, but it also, I mean, what affects our surrounding area also affects us. So I'd like to be able to go to those meetings.
Are you on that? Which one are you on? Fraser Basin Council? Right, okay. I don't know, I guess we have to bring that to council, Mr. Woven,
Yep.
and talk about it?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Notice of motion, is that what that is, or? Okay. Anything else? Okay, thank you, everyone. Is it okay? Thank you, everyone. Our meeting is terminated.